Figure it out.
Hello, this is Adam Koralik with Figure It Out Productions. The following video is part of our Quick Shoot series.
Hey guys, it's Adam here. So here's what I want to do. I want to do another little mini-series, kind of like I did with the 7th generation of game consoles. I did a recap on, what I thought of those systems and what we gained, what we lost, etc. But obviously with the 8th generation, which just came out, we can't really do that exact thing. So I kind of want to do like a preview series. So this first one will be about all three of them together, and then I'll do videos on each one. So this first one, I want to talk about in general, just the generation, and what I'm looking forward to, what I think they've done right, what I think they might want to change, or what I'm kind of worried about, etc. So we'll kick it off with what I'm looking forward to. And what I'm looking forward to is actually very simple, and kind of surprisingly short. It's basically the same thing I'm looking forward to with every generation, which is just more advanced hardware. Now that might make me sound kind of, snobbish, but that's not how I mean it. I'm a very retro gamer. I think a lot of you kind of know that if you watch my stuff. But as much as I love retro consoles, and I can have just as much fun on that, I can play the Atari 2600 and have an awesome time, and then play some piece of crap on the 360 and not have anywhere near as good of a time. Graphics do not define games. But there's no denying that more advanced hardware means if the developers utilize it correctly, then you can make a bigger and more, and just frankly a better gaming experience. It is certainly possible with the proper tools. You just need the proper talent behind it. So in that sense, I'm really looking forward to this generation of consoles because I just want to see what these developers can do with more advanced hardware. I think at the end of the day, that's kind of what everybody wants. We all want good gaming experiences. What causes dissension is that we all kind of disagree on what that is. Some people say, like, oh, multiplayer is everything. Other people say single player is everything. Some people say I want affordable digital games on my PC. Some people say I want physical games on my consoles. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's arguing over what exactly makes up your personal gaming experience. But at the end of the day, you just want a good gaming experience, right? And so in that sense, I'm really looking forward to the generation because I want a good gaming experience, much like you do. So that's, like I said, it's a very simple point. There's nothing specific in this generation I'm really looking forward to because we don't know a whole lot about what it might entail. There's nothing like this super duper thing that we have vaguely heard about but we don't know is coming, that kind of thing. Or whatever, like, there's nothing they announced already that we're all like, oh man, I can't wait till that comes out. And I don't mean games, I mean like some sort of peripheral or something like that. Kind of the way, they announced the Kinect at one point. And we were all like, oh, that could be cool. I, myself included, at one point thought the Kinect might be cool. It wasn't, but, at one point I thought it was. So that's all I can really say as far as to what I'm looking forward to. I just want a good gaming experience. And I hope that all of them offer that to me. Things I think they've kind of done right already. This is a personal preference, much like how you might define your gaming experience, but physical media. I love physical media. To me, that's just as important as solid gameplay. And that might sound silly at first to a lot of you, especially you PC gamers and digital gamers, etc. But there's certain things, and that, like I said, everyone defines their gaming experience in a certain way. There's certain things you need, certain conditions that have to be met for you to enjoy a game. Let's say you're a PC gamer, and the conditions for you have to be what? That it's a good deal, and that it's a fun game, and it doesn't maybe take up necessarily so much hardware space, and it meets the conditions of your PC that you constructed. Like you have certain rules, right, that you need to have met in order to fully enjoy a game. I have those rules too. They just are different rules. In my case, I need a physical copy. That goes hand in hand. That's just how it is. So I'm glad that they all used physical media because that means I get to enjoy them to the fullest. And if you are a person who uses digital gaming and you couldn't care any less about anything, physical media related, you think, man, that guy's a friggin' idiot. Look at all that space he's wasting there. I could have all of it stored on a hard drive. That's great for you, and you have that option. Isn't that beautiful? That this generation will allow both of us to have exactly what we want. I can go out and I can buy a copy of Dead Rising 3 for my Xbox One, which I did, you can download a copy of Dead Rising 3 for Xbox One. We both get the same thing at the end of the day. We get the gaming experience we want. And so in that sense, I'm really happy for this generation, and I'm glad that they did that very properly. Because to be honest, if any of them had launched digital only, and the Xbox One was the closest to doing that at one point, according to Microsoft's own admission, I would never have bought it. Because I will never support a digital console. So preemptively, I will say this is why I never bought the Ouya, and this is why I'll never buy a Steam box. But I'll talk about that eventually, probably in a different video. Now, things I'm a little bit worried about. Well, this is a small one, but the design physically, the external design of all three of these consoles, who the hell decided they should all have glossy exteriors? Like, sure, they look nice, but they gather a lot of dust, and that just gets kind of gross. In fact, they look very clean right now, because just before making this video, I washed them all down with Pledge to make them look nice for the video. But that doesn't last. I mean, already dust particles have started forming in the time that I've just been sitting here. So, whatever. But that's nitpicking. The thing I'm actually really worried about is the under-the-hood things, the power. Now, I know that's ironic because I was talking about how the more advanced power is going to be a good thing, and it is. My question is, is it advanced enough? And again, I'm sure there's going to be people who watch this video and think like, wow, I play games, okay? I don't just play resolution, which, is not the case with me either. I play games too. But what I'm worried about is that in every generation, typically, the console that comes out, whatever it is usually pretty on par, if not more advanced, than a lot of the home computer technology at the time. It's not always the case, but usually it is. And what that allows them to do is kind of forward project. Especially when the architecture is really unique, which is kind of also a thing of the past. The PS3 is probably the last console that will ever have that. It's just really unique architecture designed for just that machine. When you have something like that, it allows developers to utilize the console over the years to make bigger and better gaming experiences with the hardware you've already had in your home, so that the console continues to impress you. And it allows just for, as technology grows, and it keeps your console relevant. What I'm concerned about with these consoles is that really wasn't thought of, apparently. A lot, at least so far, as seems to be the case. A lot of them we all kind of expected 60 frames per second, 1080p games, out the gate, no problem, and then they're going to get even better. Right? We all kind of thought that. I think we all kind of know that's not really happening. The Xbox One, a lot of people joke now that they really should have called it the Xbox 720 because everything seems to be 720p. The PlayStation 4 has more 1080p stuff, but a lot of it has frame rate issues. And this is all stuff that's right out of the gate, and they're having these kinds of problems. Especially the ones that are really odd are the games that were exclusive to the consoles and still can't really squeeze enough power out of them. A lot of developers saying that the things are kind of tapped out and they don't know what else to do. And what I'm saying, that bothers me, because how are these consoles going to be around for like 5-10 years if they're already done? They're already tapped out of power and they can't get more out of them. I worry about that because it's, PC games are obviously not going to run into that problem because you can upgrade your PC hardware constantly. And those games will then have to be watered down to fit onto these consoles. I mean, that's typically how it goes, but at least now in the last few years that's typically how it goes, but at least with the previous generation they could hold out longer. So I'm worried about that. I could be wrong, again I'm not a programmer, but from everything I've been reading that does sound like it's going to be a problem. The Xbox One might be able to get away with it in the long run because after Microsoft saw the specs on the PS4, they did kind of a Sega Saturn. They went back inside and quickly patched some stuff and tried to upgrade the hardware to make it more competitive, which made the architecture a little bit more unique, a little bit weirder, and developers aren't really sure how to utilize it yet. So that could either be really good or it could be really bad. No one really knows yet. I think they added something that was called like SRAM or something, and it should give them more power in the long run. But I'm not an engineer. I'm not a programmer. I don't really know. That's just based on what I've been reading. So we'll see. The other thing about the Xbox One is that it has apparently some dedicated reserved power just for the Kinect at all times, even when it's not using the Kinect, and that they won't allow developers to have access to unless they're using it for Kinect purposes. If they were to disable that and free it up, then you might be able to get, I really don't know, but you might be able to get 1080p games, 60 frames per second, I really don't know. But that's just what I was reading. Now the Wii U is obviously a different case, but the Wii U actually has a better time running games at 60 frames per second at full 1080p, mostly because it's not trying to make, if you will, next generation games in the way we kind of are starting to think of them. It's kind of taking 7th generation games and making them bigger. And that's a different thing. So that's cool. Yeah, so that's kind of where I think things kind of stand right now, and what I'm a little bit worried about, again, what I'm looking forward to. So I look forward to this generation, starting, of course, with the Wii U. I don't know how people define this, but in my personal opinion, I define a console generation by the beginning of the first entrance into it and the last entrance of the next generation. So what that would mean, let's look at the 7th generation as an example there. The 7th generation begins in 2005 when the Xbox 360 came out, because it was just the first one, and it ends in November of 2013 when the Xbox One came out. Now that's not because they're both Xbox or anything like that, it's just Microsoft was first to launch 7th generation, last to launch 8th generation. So if you look at the 6th generation, it starts in November 98 when the Dreamcast comes out in Japan, ends in 2006 when the Wii comes out. At least that's how I define it. But that definition might get corrupted very soon, because I'm going to do a whole video on this, so please save your comments because I'm sure people are going to have them. But I do fear this may be the last generation of consoles, or at least consoles as we conventionally know them. Yes, I'm aware the Steam box is coming out. I know that. And I'll probably bring that up in the video. But like I said, the way we conventionally think of them, yeah, no, I'm just going to save it for another video, but I do think it's very possible this is our last generation of game consoles. So enjoy them while you can, because I don't know how long they'll be around, and you know, who knows if they're going to turn out to be great or not. I've had some fun times with them already, but to be perfectly honest, I've spent most of my time playing the Xbox One. I've been playing a lot of Dead Rising 3. This is a friggin' awesome game. But yeah. So, I don't know, that's really all I have to say on them as a group. So make sure to stay tuned for the individual parts where I can talk more about each console specifically. And of course down the line when I do the overall, like, why I think this is going to be the last generation. And then I hope I'm wrong. But yeah, anyway, that's it for now. And thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you all later.